All right. Yeah, we can get started. Welcome everyone to today's meeting. Just a few quick announcements before we get into it. I'm sending a link in the chat right now. This is for our social on April 17th. It will be during our meeting, hopefully in person, but I would just like everyone to fill out the form so we can plan ahead for how many people are planning on attending, rooms, food, etc. Yeah, so please just fill out that form. Also, we are having a percentage night at Scented Leaf on Wednesday, April 3rd. Please try to attend and mark it in your calendars if you do not have it already. And also, if you guys are looking for clinical experience this summer, I just added a link in the chat for Spark, which is the Sports Medicine Rehabilitation and Concussion Care Clinic. And they opened applications for the summer internship. There's a clinical internship and also a rehabilitation internship. And it is a great way to gain hands-on patient care experience. That is all from me. Yeah, so Josh, thank you so much for being here. If you want, you can do a little introduction. And yeah, we can get into it.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for having me. I appreciate it. Just kind of remind me, where is everyone in the process of as PA school is upcoming for everyone? Is it you're all one cohort or everyone kind of in a different year as it approaches?
We have students ranging from freshman year of college to senior year of college.
Okay, awesome. And this is a sounds like a wonderful resource. We definitely did not have this, so this is great for everyone, and I encourage you all to use the resources that um I've seen already just in tonight's meeting. Um, a little bit about me. I'll give you guys kind of a background how I stumbled into becoming a PA. But the big thing I want to try to impart tonight is at least how to survive PA school. If you get into PA school, it means you're smart. It means you know how to take tests. It means you know how to handle an academic course load, how to you'll have done shadowing hours, how to work in a healthcare field. But PA school itself is a whole different animal. You can be great at all of those things, and just trying to manage the workload as fast as it's coming at you and the stress, and you'll eventually learn, if no one tell that I want to tell you, is some of it just doesn't actually matter. Some of the things that seem stressful don't matter. They will all blend in and fall away, and it will all work out. So if I can do anything tonight, it will at least be to impart some positivity, and that the stress of PA school will be worth it, and you will get through it. As far as how I kind of stumbled into PA school, I knew I wanted to work in healthcare. I was a EMT in high school, and we had health careers in high school, and I had the opportunity to shadow a couple of surgeries, and from there I was like, I'm hooked. I want a way into the OR somehow, and I found a PA school and started applying and learn more about the program, talk to some PAs in my community. I ended up going to Lock Haven University. I did their 3+2 program. So 3 years of undergrad, and then you rolled into their PA program, and some of the credits then dual counted. So you got both a bachelor's and a master's. That was back in 2013, I graduated. From there, I went to a large rural but academic health center doing a critical care. It wasn't a formal fellowship that some of the ones you see like that are advertised now, the ER, ICU, or even CT surgery, but it was fairly similar, and I learned a lot there that kind of gave me my sea legs to be able to do this on my own. That first year is might even be worse than PA school, because you're the real deal. It's not just classwork and academic and advisors. It's you making the decisions, and even simple decisions cause you panic and you're worried and you're overthinking things. But 6 months goes by and you get through that, and then you get through another 6 months, and now it's a year, and you think maybe I know what I'm doing. There's good days, bad days, and after that first year, it gets better. Um, I did about 5 years of critical care in an ICU, and then converted to general surgery for about another 5 years or so, doing first assist in the operating room, floor work, consults, admissions, all of that, and then have now recently, in the last about 2 years or so, become a interventional radiology PA, doing procedures on my own, and then rounding on the inpatients at our hospital and doing consults and follow-ups. Um, yeah, the one thing I don't have good advice on is, I was lucky. The school I went to was a semi close to me, and doing the 3+2, I didn't have to worry about uh, I, the name is escaping me, but I know there's this application system that they go through now that everyone applies through, and um, they you can shoot your application out as a standard to everyone. I know that process is pretty stressful for folks, and that'll be something some of you will be encountering here sooner than later.
If
That
anyone's curious, the name of that application is called CASPA.
Yes, there we go. That's it. Um, and so that's something as you're getting kind of closer towards your graduation. Looking into that, having a better understanding of that will be advantageous to you as you start the process and interviews with the different programs. As far as advice on picking programs, um, honestly the simplest advice, or the most basic, is pick the program you get into. If you get your choice of programs, then it's truly looking at what matters most to you. Do they have a focus that is what you're looking for? Family medicine, primary care? Is it more academic, like a university based program? um, is it um, have more opportunities beyond once you've graduated? And all those things play a factor for folks. um, they've definitely changed and increased the academic hours that they look at for application processes. It wasn't Some of the programs didn't even have that as a requirement when I was applying. Now it's, I think, fairly standard, and the hours have increased pretty significantly, which is sounds like what you guys are working on, and trying to get ahead of with your clinical hours and shadowing. Do as much as you can in different things. The more exposure you have now, the better you'll do on the program, the better idea you'll have of what you want to do when you graduate, and will will just work in your benefit as you move along. It's funny how some of the knowledge I learned came back to help me out in a pinch on some test exams or things that you never would have guessed. So I recommend doing as much as you can, and as much in a diverse um, different specialties as you can. And if
Thank
anyone has any, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, would you mind telling us a little bit about what your day-to-day life as a PA is like?
Yeah, so that has changed considerably based on my different specialties. When I did critical care, I was actually doing 24-hour shifts. So it was um, one day on, one full 24-hour shift, 7 a.m. to 7 a.m., and then 3 days off. The 24 hours were very long, but the 3 days off was very nice, and it was a set schedule, so you know, out months ahead of time what your day was going to be to work, and you could adjust and change, and it was a really nice schedule. It was nice life and flexibility and traveling, um, and that it works out that a lot of people, when they're new graduates, obviously they're usually younger, so they tend to go into those kind of jobs one, because people generally don't want to work nights, but two, it gives you the flexibility to do those things, traveling. And now that you're earning a paycheck, you have your and you're done with school, you're ready to get out and see the world. ER is a good opportunity. There's a good life balance there with schedules. Hospitalist is another one. And unfortunately, most all of my experience is inpatient, so I don't have a lot, unfortunately, to offer for anyone looking for outpatient advice. But I think it's a huge world. The opportunity is there, and essentially, you operate by yourself. You are your own person. There really isn't a supervising physician looking over your shoulder. That I admire the family medicine PAs for that. Um, General surgery, when I went into that was 12 hours, mostly days, but then a week of nights every month or two. And of course, some one weekend a month was mixed in, and holidays and all of that. So um, that does get old after a while as you get older, and it holidays start meaning more, family, starting a family, things like that. And that led me to interventional radiology. So I now um, am Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:35 ish. I come in the morning. I take a look at the consults. I have some scheduled patients that come in for procedures. I'll do those procedures. Get to know my patients for the first time in my career, which is an interesting change. To go see consults, go try to figure out what's going on or understand what procedures the patients might need, and just kind of work through that list as the day goes on. No, kind of this. It's true for all of my jobs, but no 2 days are the same. There's no real set pattern. Of course, rounding in the morning, that's always the universal, with medicine. No matter what you do, it's always rounding, and more rounding. And you guys will be well acquainted with that by the time you're done with PA school. Your legs will hurt. You'll be tired of standing. You'll be hungry, but it will pass, and eventually you'll be your own PA and get to do your own thing and not have to be the student who's stuck dragging around with the attendings and the residents and all of that. So it does get better.
Thank you.
As far as PA school, you guys obviously, I'm sure, have a pretty good idea of how it works, but I'll just give you kind of the background of how the stages go. So I did a 24-month May to May program. So started in May. Summer was awful. Summer was some big modules, and we had a cadaver lab anatomy. So we were starting at 7 a.m. With lectures, and then finishing at 7 p.m. after 3-hour cadaver lab session, 5 days a week for almost 2.5 months of we were it's a almost a body system or exam every 2 to 3 days over the summer for us. So you're getting material on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and we're testing on it by Thursday. And that process would just keep going through the summer. And then at the end of summer was a cumulative exam based on all of the exams you've had up to that point. And then we went into the fall semester didactic, that, and I assume all programs are some set up similarly. There will be a big chunk where all your major body systems, cardiac, pulmonary, GI, the kidneys, that semester is rough too. That one is PA school is set up as it gets worse before it gets better. And that's what I want to impart is for you guys, is the stress of all of this. The pace is extreme. The material is deep. The tasks keep coming at you, and you feel like there is no time to get it all done. But you'll figure it out. That's the biggest thing I can pass on, is you will get through it. it may not be great. You may have a test score that's a little lower than you would like. It may not be the A plus you were hoping for, but you will learn it. You'll learn more than you think. You'll get through it, and you'll get on to the next body system, etc. And then once you get through that semester, the the final semester before you start on clinicals is lighter. I wouldn't call it all fluff, but it gets a little easier. It gets a little more less monotonous, less do or die sort of situations. It certainly gets better. And then you're out in the big world. You start clinicals. You learn where you're going to go. There's a day usually when all the clinical sites are released and you can see where you're going to go for the next year. And um, then you have to figure out housing. That's the next fun part, depending on what program you go. Some have housing sites set up, some have lists of folks who will are happy to house students. Others use family in the vicinity. We had some in my program who found sites in Hawaii or Florida and used it as 6 weeks to go to somewhere very exotic or far away. So it's all whatever your program allows or whatever you make of it. Um, but the biggest part I would say, especially for that first year, is just try to enjoy as much as you can. Try to realize that it will all be worth it. There is a purpose to some of it, and some of the stuff there is no purpose. They make you do things that you don't understand. You'll never know why, but just do it, get through it, and you'll be better off for it when you graduate. Um, Clinicals hit, and then you're starting to bounce around. Whether it's within your state where you're at, or if you're not from that area and you do clinicals more where you're from, where your home is. And that's when you realize everything you learned is slightly different in the real world. And I can't say enough positive things about my preceptors. They are the reasons why I'm the PA I am. I learned so much from them, and I can't recommend enough to you guys. Even if you have a bad preceptor, it happens. It's not uncommon. There are still plenty of people around in that clinical office, in that hospital, that you can learn from. Try to shadow other people while you're there. If there's another service that you're with, say you're on a cardiology rotation, go spend a day or two with one of the cardiology specialists. They're even specialized within cardiology. Try to learn more about each thing. Make it your own thing. Don't be afraid to branch out. Don't be afraid to ask your preceptor, hey, can I go do this? Can I go do that? When I was on my ICU rotation, I spent a day with respiratory therapy, just learning their vent management and how they did different things. During my ER, I did a fly along with a helicopter that was based at the hospital. Spent a day with them. There's so many ways that you can make your rotation creative and even more beneficial than just what the school gives you. When all that ends up being said and done, you take your final school tests, the exams they have for you, and then it's time to take the pants. The final exam for accreditation. I believe it's still similar. I think it's six blocks of, I would say, approximately 50 questions that you take at a testing center. It's a full day. It's a long day. It's a stressful day, but take solace in knowing even no matter what program you end up in, the first time pass rate, I think nationwide, is like 93, 94%. So if I can give you any statistic that will give you pause and peace, it's that 95% of you, 94% of you will pass the first time. And honestly, as long as you have a good head on your shoulders, your chance of passing is 100%. There's really not a real big risk there to not pass. So don't let that end all be all exam I mean, it's going to make you nervous, but do what you can. I remember the night before my taking the test, I quit studying. I had to travel to another city to take the test, and I got a hotel. I went out, had a nice dinner, and just relaxed and didn't study a thing. Because at that point, it's you know everything you're gonna know, and it's just time to take the test and be done. But that's a lot of talking on my end in a nutshell of my career. What questions do you guys have? Let me put it to you guys. What gaps can I fill in, or what advice or thoughts do you have?
Is there anything that you wish you knew before going into the PA profession?
Um, that's a good question. I guess the different specialties it has different perceptions on your independence. Like I was saying, for primary care, those folks have almost full and complete autonomy. If you're looking to be your own person, completely independently practicing, that is a great specialty to choose from. I did general surgery, which sometimes I would do bedside procedures by myself. So I had full autonomy. I got to, do incision and drainages of abscesses, suturing, this and that. But in the OR, obviously, I was always under a surgeon. The surgeon was always in charge. The surgeon was always the person making the decisions. So if that's not for you, that may not be the specialty to choose. If you truly want to be the decision maker, and sometimes that even changes based on your years of experience. When you're new, sometimes you don't want to make any decisions. You want to be under someone and have that mentorship. And I did, and I loved having that and learning. And then as I got more experienced, I liked making the decisions on my own.
Thank you.
Um, let me see.
We,
Patient.
yeah, you want to read the question out loud?
Yeah.
We can
Yeah.
answer
So,
them.
patient care experience during undergrad. So, I was an EMT, like I said, in high school, and I stayed doing that throughout college. I actually was a live-in firefighter and EMT during college. So I lived at the firehouse. So I kind of cheated. I used a lot of those hours. I did, I worked in an ER as a patient care tech. And then I did just an observation of surgery as well at a academic center near where I live, just to be able to see it from a different aspect with a PA and learn how they got into it, and um, how their career went. So it was good hearing from a fellow PA that gave me a lot of life advice and understanding how to maneuver through all the hurdles. Best and worst things about working in IR. It's very independent. I'm almost fully independent in my position. I have a subset of procedures that I do completely on my own. Lumbar punctures, abdominal drainages, lung drainages, um, some catheter removals and dissections, and that I love doing that. It's neat to just be able to do. It's kind of like surgery, but it's without having a surgeon. I get to do the procedure. The worst part about that is the exact same thing. There is no one to turn and look to say, I mean, there is a physician on site, and if I do ever have a tricky situation, I do run it by them, and I do, have them for backup and guidance. But in the middle of the procedure, it's just me, and that's a very humbling and sometimes terrifying and stress-inducing thing to think about. That it really isn't any different in primary care either. You have a patient's life in your hands. That no matter what specialty you pick, that's the stressful part. If you make a mistake, sometimes it's not that big of a deal, but sometimes it can be life changing. Missing a symptom in primary care, or for me, missing something on an imaging and making a clinical mistake, harming the patient. those are the worst feelings that you'll feel as a PA. And it will happen. It will happen to all of you. There's no way around it. Nobody's perfect. Even if you're really, really good, it will still happen at some point, and it feels miserable. It will follow you for a while, and you won't make that same mistake again. You'll be much more cautious and learn from it. Talk a little bit about how you got your EMT certification and job as a patient care tech. Um, so I family was involved in fire and EMS, so I got my EMT as soon as I turned 16. I did it at home, and then once I got to college, like I said, I did it there as well and made connections, and they needed a patient care tech in the ER, so I was able through those connections to apply and get the job. It was also my first night shift job at working at, I think I was 19 at the time, working 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. So that was a good life experience at the time and getting to see everything. Um, but it was tremendously helpful. Just simple things as simple as labs. By being a patient care tech, I learned what's in different labs, what different orders mean, how just the flow of how a hospital works. Um, because you'll be um, your first rotation or two, you'll be a fish out of water for some things. You won't What's simple to everyone else, you won't have a clue about, and that's just because you're new and you're learning. But the more experience you can have before you go in, at least the better kind of skeleton understanding you'll have before you get there. Let's see. How would you say PA school prepared you for working as a PA? And how easy was it for you to find a job? Um, I'll be honest, the PA school proper, I didn't like the didactic part. Um, it was a good clinical base and it was a good base to take the test. I felt well prepared for the exam. But like I said, your preceptors that clinical year, that's who truly prepares you for um, how to be a PA. Having great preceptors, having people who are invested in teaching you and learning and just how to practice medicine. Um, we could all, when you're done with PA school, you can quote, you know, percentages of, what bacteria causes pneumonia or this, that, or the next thing. But how you apply it is the most important thing. And finding a preceptor who can teach you how to apply what you know fact based into true clinical practice is the best thing I can hope for all of you, that you all get a preceptor like that, because it will make your career a lot smoother starting out. Um, as far as ease of finding a job, it wasn't too bad. I applied for a couple, say maybe three or four. Um, I would say start applying early for jobs. I know it's a little cart before the horse. But when you're in PA school and you're basically the beginning of your final semester, I would start looking for jobs, start applying, start talking to people who you're on rotations with, asking them if their clinics are hiring or if they're looking for anyone. Um, because that's an easy way to kind of slide right into a job, is off of one of your rotations. Um, I don't know. I would say the market's still pretty good, finding jobs. I don't think it's too terribly hard. I know during COVID it got a little rocky for new grads that were graduating then, but I think it's recovered. I mean, just looking at a job board at any health system around here, we have three major ones, and they all have pretty significant number of openings and in many different specialties too. So you're not relegated to just one specialty or one, whatever they're looking for. I think the market's still pretty good. Um, so for how many PA schools did I apply to and get accepted? I'll be honest, this one's I copped out. I applied to the program that had the 3+2 and was able to interview and get in for that. And so I stopped looking at that point and did that direct transfer in and didn't have to, fortunately for me, didn't have to go through that. Um, Pre-PA student feeling ready for PA school. And is anyone really ready? No, no one's ready. It's like I said, it's a whole different world. It's a little bit of your old life. Like I said, you'll all be great at academics. You all, have lives outside of um, academia, extracurricular activities. It's kind of all of that wrapped in one. The phrase that gets used a lot is drinking from a fire hose. And like I said, it really is. It's 8 full hours of lectures in 3 days, and then you're taking a test on it a day later. That's a far different way of academia compared to undergrad. Um, but it's doable. That's like I said, the thing I have to impart on all of you. It is certainly doable. There are hundreds some programs out there that are doing it every day. That it's possible for everyone. Our program was a mix. We had seven, so we had 70 students total. Seven of us were 3+2. Um, Majority were 4+2 or had applied from other schools. But I would also say we had almost 15 to 20 second career students. We had a malpractice lawyer. We had a physical therapist. Um, Actually, 2 years after I graduated, one of our undergrad professors became a PA. He went through the program. Um, so there was quite a few people in older age brackets too that that went through. So you'll see all sorts of different walks of life. And I would say lean on them for some advice. I think the least stressed people in PA school were the second career folks. Um, People like myself and others that just went straight into the PA program. We got a little stressed out a little too easily. I think once you learn that no matter what, for the most part, it will all be okay. You can enjoy it a little more. GPA and undergrad. To be honest, I don't know. I want to say 3.8 ish. For the 3+2 program, um, we had to maintain a certain GPA average higher than the program normally accepted, and there were some other stipulations too, but I don't fully remember it right now. Um, I would say, I guess, make yourself, it's a job application of sorts. Make yourself marketable. Highlight your clinical rotations, what you've done. Um, and if, even if you don't know specifically what you want to get into, if you have an interest or even, passion that you think you might like, I would talk about that. It just shows that you kind of have a passion, in which direction: family medicine, surgery, OBGYN, psych, um, whatever suits you or whatever you think you'll like. Some people knew for sure the day they got there what they were going to do, and they did it. They um, uh, lived their dream. Other people changed as soon as they did the rotation for what they thought they were going to love, and never never even remotely came close to what they thought they were going to do. So rotations are where you get to try everything out. It's a great time to uh, explore and test it out without really committing. 6 weeks of you get to come in, you get to learn, get to understand the patient population, the flow, the stress of it, and then after that you're done and you move on to the next one. So it's a great time just to enjoy and learn all the different specialties. Um, the only other thing I would say is kind of pessimistic, but for applying during a cycle is definitely a pattern I saw and this is just more for something to keep in your back of your mind. Folks who didn't get in first round, almost universally got in second round. Because sometimes there was a backup of folks from the previous year who were really good, but they just didn't have room for them. So they almost sometimes programs will end up on basically a year delay that they're stuck. They have to wait a year to take all the people from the year before that they wanted, but they didn't have room for. So then when you apply, there's no room for you. So you kind of have to wait that next year. I saw that happen to some folks. Again, that's kind of where the advice I would say sometimes the best PA program is the one you get into if you want to just get started and get going and you don't want to wait that year. But if you're set on a program and you like what it's offering and you want to go to that one, then it's worth waiting or talking, about wait listing. Sometimes a lot of people cancel at the last minute because they get a seat at the program they were hoping to get into. So there is a lot of last minute shuffling that first week or the week or two going into the start of programs. Choosing PA versus med school. Honestly, I just didn't think I could make it. The being in academic situation that long, I just didn't think it was for me. Um, as far as the difficulty, I don't know on that end, but the time, I just didn't think that I could truly commit to that length of schooling and still be happy. I knew myself. I knew that I just wanted to get the schooling in, get it going, and be done, and start to basically the next chapter of my life in the working world. And I think that's where the PA programs excel. It's a um, much more doable for folks. Two years on top of undergrad is much different than 4 years of med school, 3 years of residency, and maybe another 2 years of fellowship. That's a humongous chunk of your life to give up. Um, I've been working now, employed for 10 years as a PA. If I would have gone the med school route, I would just be graduating. I would just be becoming a physician, probably roughly this year. And I think I would have lost a lot of opportunity in life and a lot of um, fun things along the way if I'd have gone that route. So I very happy with the choice that I made.
Thank you. Does anyone have any more questions? You can also feel free to just speak out loud or type in the chat. We can wait like another minute or so.
And I will put my email in the chat as well if you guys have any questions, especially those of you kind of starting um, the program. If you're in that stage that you're applying and you have questions, or once you're in, they'll send you a list of things you need, this and that. Please reach out. I was very fortunate to meet someone who had gone through about 2 years ahead of me and gave me a box of all their stuff that they had gotten, and that was a huge help. But even if I can just give you advice on what books to buy, what not to buy, um, they fortunately want you to buy a lot of things in the beginning, and sometimes you'll find that not all of it is nearly as necessary as they lead you to believe. But on the other hand, there are some books that are single-handedly the reason why I successfully made it through PA school. I learned from a couple of key books and key things that I leaned on heavily. So would be happy to share those tidbits with folks when you're coming to that point.
All right. Well, I think that that might be all the questions. If anyone has any more, you can reach out to Josh. He just put his email in the chat. Josh, thank you so much for coming today and speaking to the club. I found it very helpful. I'm sure that our members did as well. So we really appreciate it.
Of course, thank you guys for having me. And like I said, this is a great opportunity in undergrad. I think you guys have a great thing going on here. I'm envious. This did not exist for us, so um, this will pay dividends when you get to PA school.
Thank you. All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Have a good night.